So I'm Candice Oneida, and I want to say welcome to She TV, the place to become powerfully feminine from the inside out. And today I want to talk to you about the difference between how the true and false feminine deal with conflict. Now, I want to talk to you about this today because this will illustrate to you clearly the pathway toward the true feminine, because I believe that in the false feminine, in some of these behaviors that I'm going to talk to you about today, you don't want to be behaving like that anymore or thinking like that anymore. So what inspired this talk was a little, let's say, kerfuffle that happened inside one of my Facebook groups. I'll also invite you into that at the end of our conversation today. It is called Smart, Savvy, Sexy. I'd love you to join us there because I go deeper on certain topics inside of Smart, Savvy, Sexy. So you're very welcome to join us inside of that community. It has a bit more of a community feeling than here on YouTube because I kind of come on and I can talk to you in a live stream, but we have a sense of community building there. So I'd love to have you on board. Let's just see who's coming on and saying hello. Cherry, hello. Mariette, hello. Rachel, hello. Welcome, loves, welcome. Great to see you here. Wonderful to have you on board. So what happened was I was actually away meditating and I was checking on here at YouTube and I was checking on my groups. And yeah, there was just a kerfuffle going on between a woman who was being a victim. You know, she was not taking responsibility for her own behavior, whilst another woman was really trying to just appease her and to calm her down a little bit. And it made me realize how the false feminine deals with conflict. Now, look, our life is fraught with conflict, whether, we're actually in a verbal conflict with somebody or there's some sort of ouchy kind of dynamic going on in a text or in an email, on the phone, with friends, with your kids, with your partner. It can happen, okay? It's how you deal with it that distinguishes the difference between the true and false feminine in yourself and in your observations of other people's response to conflict, okay? So let me illustrate this. So there's a conflict going on and there are triggers going off, okay? You are getting triggered. Something's happened and you feel triggered. Now, the false feminine's response to this is that you or this person or this thing outside of her has created the feeling that she has inside of herself. She goes, you making me feel bad. You are behaving badly. You are making me respond like this, okay? Essentially, the false feminine is extremely externally focused, okay? She is focused outside of herself and she blames things outside of herself when she gets triggered, okay? And by the way, this is not to excuse somebody's poor behavior, but this is about you taking responsibility for your inner landscape, your inner environment, okay? So let's look at the true feminine's response to exactly the same thing. There's a dynamic going on. There's a conflict that starts to ensue for whatever reason. Life's happening, right? And what happens is the true feminine goes, I am triggered. This is my stuff. And she owns her inner landscape. She owns her inner environment. Hopefully she's done enough of some sort of self-transformation work or some sort of work where she knows that this is her trigger. She's seen it go on again and again, and it might be a different person or a different situation, but she takes responsibility for her own triggers. Now, how does this play out differently in conflict? So what ends up happening, let's go back to the false feminine. There's some sort of trigger. Someone says something to you. Somebody does something. You see something happen. You read something in an email or a text. And something, like something rises in your energy, some feeling, big emotion comes up inside you. Now that can happen in the true or the false feminine. I've never claimed that the true feminine is beyond emotions and beyond triggers. The distinction here is how they behave and how they take responsibility and accountability for their own triggers, okay? So what happens here? The false feminine will start to fight and defend. She fights and defends, or she can also kind of slump in defeat and feel bad and I'm a bad person or I'm not worthy, okay? She will slump. And remember, in my model of the true and the false feminine, this is not to cast judgment or aspersions at people who are in the false feminine or yourself, indeed, if you fall into the false feminine. This is about creating models so that you can see more clearly what's going on, understand what's going on, in order that you can transform it and move toward your true self, your true authentic nature. So the false feminine will defend, she'll fight, she'll try to prove herself. She will say, I need to be heard, I need to be right. And she will continue the fight until she either wins or loses the argument, right? Now, this is a lose-lose world, okay? It's a lose-lose scenario. Nobody actually wins. Even if the person on the other side concedes defeat because she's pushed so hard and she's fought so hard, they will be resenting her in the background, okay? So let's look at the true feminine's response to the same conflict. Something is said. She reads something. She sees something. And a trigger is elicited inside her. And I keep pointing to my body because we tend to feel our triggers somewhere inside of our body, especially when you become more aware of your body in the true feminine, okay? As you become more embodied through the powerfully feminine work, you will start to feel and own these more and more inside of your own body, okay? So she'll feel the trigger and she will go, this is mine. This is my trigger. And she knows that nobody and nothing is responsible for her triggers. If she is triggered and she knows it's hers. Think about it. If someone says something to you and you have no response to it, it's like, okay, then there's no trigger. But if there's a trigger, that's yours. You own it. This is inside of you. Now, look, this is not to say that if you have repeated triggers that go around and around and around in circles, this is an indication that you need some coaching, some mentorship, some therapy, something that can resolve that for you. This is not so that you just sit there owning your reactions for the rest of your life. This is an opportunity for self-knowledge. Oh, I'm triggered. And this one's happened again. It might be a different person in a different situation, but I'm owning that I am triggered. So what does she do? What does the queen do in this conflict situation? She doesn't fight back. She doesn't concede. She doesn't just, let someone walk all over her. In fact, the true feminine is really clear on her boundaries. And if somebody keeps pelting balls at her, she will say, that's enough. I'm out of here. Okay? As in, I need to withdraw because I'm being attacked by you right now, or whatever she needs to say. Okay? So what I like to, excuse me, you have two people that are in their false level, so say two princesses fighting with each other. It's what we call it ping pong in Australia. I think you call it table tennis in the world. It's called table tennis or ping pong. So when two people are fighting and defending and desperate to be heard by each other, they're just pelting ping pong balls across the net. Da, 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 da. And that's kind of endless until someone slams the ball and wins the match, okay? And look, in the world and from the perspective of the true feminine, nobody's actually winning in that scenario. I have a saying that I developed, which is, do I want to be right or do I want to be open? And once again, this is not to allow people to walk all over you. This is not to permit people's bad behavior. That's where your boundaries set those things. This is to take responsibility for your inner environment in order that you are actually coming from an empowered position. So what would the queen do in that situation? She just puts down her bat and she does not fight. She will not fight a lose-lose scenario. She already knows it's a lose-lose scenario and she just stops playing the game. The trigger ping pong match, I call it, or the reaction ping pong game. Stop playing, okay? And if you're feeling like someone continues to pelt balls at you in that scenario and they're accusing you and they project onto you, okay, this is the false feminine's response. They accuse and project. They don't take responsibility. Then you can say, that's enough for now. I think that we need a little bit to cool off a bit. How about we get back and we talk about this later, okay? There are a dozen ways you can exit a situation gracefully from the Queen, okay? I teach all this in the Powerfully Feminine Intensive, where you learn to arise in your Queen and actually be in an orientation where you don't allow people to walk over you, okay? All right, what else did I want to pass to you about this? Okay, let me just see if you have questions at this point. Those who are live. Shyla, hello, Shyla, greetings. This happened to me today. I reacted terribly. Oh, honey, just be compassionate with yourself. We've all reacted terribly before, okay? So, look, this is the thing. You actually prompted what I wanted to say. You know, one thing about the Queen is that she takes responsibility for her own bad behavior. Even if someone's attacked you and you've come back with full force, that is still a bad behavior, or it's not good behavior in my opinion, in my experience. The Queen can stand up and apologize from a graceful, empowered position. I didn't behave well. I said things I didn't mean, and I'm standing up in myself and apologizing. Okay, you don't have to say that last bit. I apologize for what I said, or I apologize for my behavior. So the Queen, you know, we make mistakes. We err. We're human. We do stupid things. So you get to stand up and do an empowered apology. I talk a lot about compassionate radical honesty in the Powerfully Feminine Intensive program. I teach you how to do this in a methodical fashion. Shyla says, yes, I felt something rise up in me. That's right. That's yours, my dear. That is yours. Moriette says, she doesn't fight back. Shyla says, thank you, Eileen. Kelly, hello. Hi, Eileen. Great. Any questions on this topic here today? Or I will keep it short and sweet. Short and sweet. So what I wanted to do was to pass this to you, because one thing my spiritual teacher always used to say to me and to us was that sometimes it's easier to see things in other people first before we see it in ourselves. So use this concept of how the true feminine and the false feminine respond to the same situation, and observe that in other people, not as a judgment. Remember, this whole model of the true and false feminine is there for you to understand yourself better, to gain self-knowledge, to see through this framework of the false feminine and the true feminine how you respond to something. And you see, the thing about the false feminine is they are not in a world of free will or free choice. They're reacting unconsciously, they're behaving unconsciously, right? And so what we do as we awaken more, we start to be able to rise in our Queen and say, I'm not going to play the ping pong match anymore. And I can feel that you're hurting right now, but I'm not going to take responsibility for this. And if you've done something wrong, then you do an empowered apology. But you also have the boundaries with which to extract yourself if it doesn't feel right to you. Hello, Raquel Menendez. Hello, Queen. Thank you much for your mission. My pleasure, love. My pleasure. Eileen, how do I stop myself getting angry? Well, you don't stop yourself getting angry. If you're angry, you're angry. But if you're angry and you feel like you're about to say something or do something that you're going to regret, you get yourself out of the situation, as in get out of the room. Like, I'm angry right now. You can say that. I'm really angry right now. Rather than you've made me angry. That's the false feminine's response. When you start to own these triggers inside you, then you're in an empowered position to actually transform them. Okay, but start with, I'm angry. I don't want to say anything bad. I need to get out. I need to cool off, and I will get back to you later. Make a choice. Make an empowered choice. Pamela, how do you help someone deal with being blamed by the false feminine in their personal life? Just don't take it on, okay? If someone's blaming you and you've got a consistent princess in your life, you've got some choices to make. You can push them a little further away, give some arm's distance to them in terms of their proximity to you, their ability to get to you, their ability to talk to you, and you can give them some space, but you just don't take it on, and you create strong boundaries, okay? Okay, this is great, says Moriette. Bumble Bay. It's so hard to work in a corporate setting as a truly feminine woman. Yes and no. Without training, I'd agree with you, Bumble Bay. With training, it's totally possible. I have numerous corporate women in my programs, and they are very empowered in their corporate situation, and they are becoming powerfully feminine corporate women. Shaila Nares, hello. Yes, I get it. By owning the emotion of even stating it, I'm angry, it gives me time to think before speaking. Yes, there's a lot of power in the 10-second rule. Or just breathe. Just breathe. Okay? Breathe. And it's not going to take away these strong feelings, but it's going to be like, okay, I can't speak cleanly right now. I'm owning that I'm angry and I'm not going to speak with clarity. You can never speak from clarity when you're in a reaction, okay? Ever. Pamela, it helped, well, okay. Great note, Shyla. Yes. It's okay to state your emotion. It's okay. It's good. It's good. All right. Okay, my dears, do you have any more questions on this topic? I will wrap it up today, and you can put more questions in the comments below. This will go live to Facebook. YouTube. This will land in my YouTube stream. You can watch it again. You can ask me questions in there. I come in every day that I can when I'm not meditating, and I answer the questions for you as best I can. I'm going to invite you into a few things. Okay, so I am opening up the Powerfully Feminine Intensive Program again right now. I would love to invite you as my YouTube community into that. The way to get into that is that I have a completely free masterclass called The 3 Massive Mistakes Women Make That Keep Them Exhausted, Overwhelmed, and Burning Out. The reason is those 3 symptoms are some of the symptoms of being in the false levels, either in the false feminine or in the false masculine, which is what we call man mode here, okay? And so I'll give you lots of rich information inside that masterclass, at the end of which I am opening an offering to my community to enter the Powerfully Feminine Intensive, to enroll with us. It's all the information's in the masterclass. I'm not going to go over it now. I'll put a link here so you can reserve your seat for the masterclass. There's a number of times you can choose from. I'd love to see you there in the masterclass and to help you further in your powerfully feminine emergence. I'm totally behind that for you. Let's see if you have a few more questions. Okay, Sherry, hello, welcome, Naomi. Sherry QUIU asks, how can the feminine energy be applied when having conflicts or even fights with the partner? We always try to prove our own point of view. Yeah, that's an example, Sherry, my dear, of the false feminine and the false masculine in a lose-lose scenario. I teach this in great detail in a program called Arise in Your Queen, Attract Your King. It is not being offered at the moment, but you can always go and make sure you get on the waiting list for that, and I'd be happy to train you in that fully. There's something I can't say one thing to you that's going to resolve that right now. Basically, you need to rise in your queen. You need to know how to be in your queen and to stop the ping pong match with your partner too, I'm afraid. Okay, let's see if there's any more questions here. Shyla says, I'd love to join the upcoming masterclass. Beautiful. It's time. I have a question. I'm a 6-foot-tall black woman. Men always see me as masculine. How do I change that? Oh, I don't think it's about how men see you, my love. You know, I have this interesting thing in my spiritual community. There's all these really tall women, and I used to think I was tall at 5'7", and one of them's 5'11", one of them's 6 feet. Like, they're just these Arizonian, resplendent queens, you know. And so I hear behind your question, my dear, that it has a lot more to do with your relationship to yourself, and that you start to own your stature. You start to stand up in your queen. And I can promise you that when you do, men will see you differently and they will respond to you very differently from that standpoint. You see, it's an energetic thing being in the Queen. It's not about the look stuff. As you know, here in She TV, it's about becoming powerfully feminine from the inside out. And so that means your inside, how you relate to yourself, how you relate to your body. And this again is, I teach you all of this in the 5 core feminine arts inside of the Powerfully Feminine intensive program. And so jump on into the masterclass. You know, you'll learn a lot in the masterclass alone. It's packed with information, and I'd love to invite you inside of the program. So I'm going to sign off for now and sending so much love to you. I'm going to see if I can jump on in and answer some more questions as we move forward. Let me just see, a whole bunch of questions suddenly came through. It's Time says, should I dress extra feminine? Nope, this is not what this work's about. Okay, She TV and the Powerfully Feminine work has zero to do with what you look like on the outside. Okay, when you start to shine from the inside out, you could wear a paper bag and people would see you as feminine. Men particularly are super uber sensitive to feminine energy. Your feminine energy and power is something that you are plugged into inside. The outside stuff, what we wear and look like, is what I call the adornment piece, and it is 2% of the issue. The issue is all about your relationship to yourself. It is all about how you embody yourself. Okay, these are the things that I teach you in the Powerfully Feminine work. Once again, I'm going to invite you into the free masterclass coming up. I will put a link here underneath this video, and I look forward to seeing you inside there. And for those of you who are ready, I invite you inside of the Powerfully Feminine Intensive and the Powerfully Feminine Sisterhood. Sending much, much love to you, and I will see you again very, very soon. And remember, when you have the courage to go out there and shine, you give others permission to do the same. So let's all go out there and shine this week. Bye-bye for now.